So let's get started. First of all, why is sugar bad and where's sugar at? And let's start there, and then we're going to dive down into this. So why is eating lots of sugar bad in the first place? Well, when you eat a lot of sugar, you spike your blood sugar level. This immediately spikes your insulin level. Your insulin level is going to make you store fat. It's going to make it almost impossible for your body to burn fat. So if one of your goals in life is weight loss or fat loss, you're not going to do that if you're eating lots of sugar. Eating lots of sugar leads to chronically high blood sugars and chronically high insulin levels, which lead to cavities in your teeth. It leads to diabetes. It leads to severe acne, obesity, fatty liver, chronic joint inflammations, chronic skin rashes. The list goes on and on and on. Sugar is not your friend. Sugar is bad for human beings. Never in the history of our existence on this planet have we eaten as many pounds of sugar a year as we do now. Never, not even close. Okay, so now secondly, where's sugar at? So we all know that sweets and soft drinks and fruit juices, these have sugar. We know that. But here's the problem, and this is very confusing for some people with sugar addiction. Some people with sugar addiction don't like sweet foods. They don't like sweets. They don't like cookies, cakes, pies, desserts, but they're still a sugar addict. And here's how. If you are a chip addict, then you're a sugar addict, because the carbohydrates, the processed carbohydrates in potato chips or corn chips or tortilla chips, all of these break down immediately in your stomach to glucose and fructose, which are sugars, right? If you love bread, if any kind of bread, whether it's bread sticks, whether it's fresh made bread at home, whether it's organic bread grown from stone ground wheat, all this breaks down immediately to glucose and fructose in your blood. A lot of people think eating fruit is healthy. Maybe some seasonal fruit is not too bad for you, but eating lots of fruit every day, if you make that big fruit smoothie every morning and pulverize the fruit so you don't even have to chew it, guess what that breaks down to immediately in your digestive system? Did you guess? Glucose, fructose, right? And so really, any of these foods are going to create a sugar addiction and perpetuate a sugar addiction. And so many people who consider their diet very healthy, I only eat stone ground tortilla chips and I have a huge fruit smoothie 2 or 3 times a day, you could absolutely be a sugar addict. So now, how does this work? How do you get addicted to sugar? Why is it sugar? Why is it not protein? Why is it not fat? Great question. So sugar causes a big dump of dopamine into the synapses in your brain, in the pleasure centers. And so you get this dopamine release when you eat sugars. And it doesn't have to taste sweet, like I said earlier. It can be savory, but it's all about the carbohydrates, the simple processed carbohydrates. That's what's going to lead to sugar addiction, because it spikes dopamine release in these neurons in your pleasure centers, and then you get this dopamine high. Now, and so for example, cocaine is very habit forming. There's no doubt about this. We don't have any doubts. And so how is it addictive? Well, what it does is it keeps the synapse from taking up the dopamine. It keeps the receptor from taking up the dopamine out of the synapse. And so you build up a lot of dopamine in the synapse, just like with sugar, except cocaine just does it a different way. But the net result from both is that you have a lot of dopamine available for your receptors, and you get a dopamine high. Obviously, cocaine and other drugs give you more of a dopamine response and more of a high, and are much more addictive, there's no doubt, and the consequences of their addiction are typically much worse acutely. But for many people, sugar addiction is just as bad. Now, why is there all this disagreement about whether there is a sugar addiction thing or not? Well, here's why. Big food and big pharma make billions of dollars every year if you're a sugar addict. They don't want you to believe that it's a real thing. It would not be in their best interest. their stock price would go down. And so they're happy for you to believe this, and they're not just going to come straight out and say there's no such thing as a sugar addiction. They're going to pay for research studies that seem to show that sugar addiction's probably not a real thing, or that it's a real thing in rats and rodents, but it's probably not real in humans. That way there's some doubt, and therefore you are at your liberty to eat all of the sweets and the chips and the breads and drink the sodas and the fruit juice and continue your sugar addiction and continue their billion-dollar profit. That's why you hear kind of conflicting evidence on this. Now,